Hey guys, I'm here to show you my case presentation. And my case presentation is on Mike. Mike is a cisgender Caucasian male in his early 20s. He recently graduated from college and he's in the process of pursuing his master's degree. He worked two jobs after he graduated and he enjoyed both of them. But when he decided to pursue his master's degree, he felt that it was too much to continue those jobs. So he quit the jobs and he moved back in to with his parents, for financial reasons. He lives with both of his parents and his younger brother and sister. He's active in his church as a youth pastor. As a child, he struggled with a learning disability. It was a learning disability specific to math. He had to have extra time for his tests. He was in separate classrooms for extra instruction. He said that disability led him to a lot of severe bullying from the other students, and also just some social issues. He didn't feel included in the rest of the high school class. He started feeling symptoms of depression and anxiety. Despite all of this, he was able to complete high school and finish his bachelor's degree. When he started college, he really felt he was more outgoing. He made friends, and he ended up in a long-term relationship that lasted about 2 years. This relationship, as he put it, ended badly. He said that while the depression and anxiety never quite went away, it got really bad to where he couldn't get out of bed, and his anxiety went through the roof too. He had trouble sleeping, and he said that he began to focus on worst case scenarios. He phrased it like, someone would ask him, "Hey, do you want to drive to a place an hour away?" And it would be, "Well, the tire could blow and we could get into a car accident." Just those types of worry, unreasonable worry, intrusive thoughts. He also questioned what the purpose of everything was, just a typical depression, what's the point of everything? Like, that kind of stuff. So as we'll talk about more later, I diagnosed Mike with early onset persistent depressive disorder and generalized anxiety disorder. Client strengths. Mike possesses many strengths. The first I noticed right away is intelligence. He's very sharp. He is very intuitive, thoughtful. And it really impressed me that he was able to finish not just high school, but a bachelor's degree and be progressing on to a master's degree, all with the learning disability. And I understand U.S. field isn't necessarily math, but still, he overcame that. So the intelligence and then just the resilience of that. He's got a strong family unit. His mother, he had told me, was instrumental when he was in high school. She's a social worker, and she worked with him with his school, made sure that his assignments were turned in and completed correctly, and very supportive of him when he went to seek therapy. And so was his father. His father also works for the schools. He's a football coach, gym teacher, and he was always very supportive of Mike. He gets along with both his brother and his sister. He's the oldest in the house, and he's very compassionate, empathetic. You could tell he has a heart for children, and he enjoys the efforts that the church does. And we'll get into that a little bit later. So the meso level, Mike's a little overwhelmed right now. He's motivated to finish everything, but he's starting to find that, he's a full-time student. He's a youth pastor, and he doesn't have a lot of time for himself. So while the youth pastor work is considered part-time, he puts a lot of volunteer work where he supervises the kids. They go out of town, they do humanitarian work, building houses, just all kinds of stuff. And then not only that, youth pastors like being a teacher. You have youth group every week, and he has to come up with, almost like a lesson plan, like what they're going to do. So he's pretty stressed. He voiced to me that he wished he had more free time. I definitely think he needs more free time for himself. that self-care, just to have that time where you're not worried about anyone else, you're worried about yourself. He has friend groups from college, and they get together occasionally, not as much as he would like, but they do get together at times. He's single right now. He's not in a relationship. And at the macro level, just a lot going on for him at the macro level. He's got new systems, a new college, internship, the church, outside activities with the church, and then he's also not. He doesn't have much income right now, so there's just a lot going on at the macro level that's kind of affecting him. The different systems at play, and he does feel he got a little income, and living with his parents is good for him. But still, I think all this change is kind of weighing on him a little bit. Justification for diagnosis. Mike was already diagnosed with a mild learning disability specific to math when he was in junior high. And he told me that. He mentioned how that affected his socialization. And Mike talked about after his breakup, he felt hopeless for almost a year after. During this time, he was withdrawn and he did not leave the house much. He told me he had these feelings before, but they got more severe after the breakup. He said that he still struggles with these feelings today. So with all that, I diagnosed him with early onset depressive disorder. I diagnosed him with the early onset because, according to the DSM-5, that would be prior to 21. So when he explains all of these things, and I did a little timeline, that means he would have been feeling a lot of these symptoms of depression, in the high school years. And I diagnosed him with this condition because at the time he meets 4 of the required symptoms, only 2 are required, and he'd had to have these symptoms for 2 years. So he displayed low self-esteem, feelings of hopelessness, low energy, and also poor concentration. And so those had been felt, and it gets a little money because was the poor concentration because of the learning disability, but I just feel like it was strong enough where, he's feeling depression also. And then the breakup just made it worse. I also diagnosed him with generalized anxiety disorder because Mark, he mentioned, restlessness, insomnia, and difficulty concentrating and being easily fatigued. Now, there is persistent depressive disorder with anxious distress. I thought about that, but I decided to go with, another diagnosis of generalized anxiety disorder because I felt like the symptoms were severe enough where it was something else at play, not just the depression. So I diagnosed those 2 things. He is currently medicated for both depression and anxiety, and he is undergoing medication management with a psychiatrist. So relevant practice issues. So for the first thing, I decided to work with Mike on freeing up some free time, some time for him before we got into anything else. My goal with him would be. So I felt like just that free time, that self-care could kind of help his mindset a little bit. And then we'd get into some more other things more specific to his disorders. So I would like to treat his anxiety with cognitive behavior therapy. I got this from one journal article. CBT is a well-used intervention for generalized anxiety disorder. So I use this method because CBT will help him figure out specifically what's triggering the anxiety and then how he can respond to it. So I'm going to have him write, things. Hey, I'm feeling this way when this happens. And then this is what I did. And then we could work together and kind of work on changing some of those behaviors and learning what is triggering him. And then my next goal would be to address his depression. This was a stat. I didn't realize that. As of 2020, more than 300 million people worldwide suffer from depression. That number is 18% higher than in 2005. And that's from a journal article that I'm using for my treatment plan. And I thought that was interesting. I mean, 18% in 15 years, that's a large number. And I don't know if that's because more people are seeking help or there are more things at play that's causing it. Well, anyway, for this, I'd like to see Mike build self-esteem and create goals for himself, because I feel like his self-worth and motivation to get things done would improve. So the first thing we'd do is we'd start discussing his strengths, and then later at another intervention, I'd ask him a miracle question about, like, in real, realistically, where do you envision yourself professionally and personally in about 5 to 8 years? And then what we can do after that, the next intervention, we'll come up with steps that will help him achieve those goals. So yeah, anyway, I can't wait to watch all of yours. And thanks for watching my presentation. Have a great night.